everybody to the Golden Touch Workshop. This is goal setting that's soul getting. Every time we come to that critical time, end of the year, whether it be December, some people celebrate at the end of August and into a new September year. But every time we get into this critical time where we have to take stock of our lives, it is this natural compulsion that we have to start setting goals, to start future projecting, to start thinking of what it is that we really want in our lives and make them come true. And you've heard of Midas, right? There's an old story about King Midas that everything he touched turned to gold. And do you guys know someone who it seems like that is true for them? That everything that they touch, it's like Midas. It turns to gold. And I'm here to tell you that this golden touch, this goal setting workshop, turns your goals into gold. So you are actually, everything that you touch, it seems like it's effortless. It seems like you just have a way to create your dreams and a life according to your soul, according to what it is. Everything that you do is according to your highest alignment, your highest gifts. So who wants a little bit more of that in their lives, right? Because we know that goal setting doesn't work. Actual, traditional goal setting does not work. I say your goals suck, and that's awful to say. I mean, everyone's like, no, not my goals. I'm attached to my goals. I make all my goals come true. Here's the thing. It's not because the goals that you have made throughout your life suck. It's because the rule book for how we've been taught to make goals sucks. We have been taught to make goals. Has anyone here heard of the thing called SMART goals? Yeah, we've heard of SMART goals, right? I'm not even going to give the acronym because we all know it's all about goals that are measurable and short. And they're timely, and we give perspective for SMART goals as if goals are something that gets crossed off our to-do list. And here's the thing: we can go through life as crossing off the to-do list. We can live our whole lives crossing off our to-do lists. And we could be pretty successful crossing off our to-do lists. But who wants to live a life of constant to-dos? Then you've got a to-do life. You've got a life that reflects all of these goals that you set. And yeah, you have some feelings of achievement with crossing those goals. But feelings of achievement crossing those goals are so short-lived. There's actually 4 basic hormones that we are always working off, human chemicals, the bioengineered, the biochemistry within our body. We have the things that create long-term effect on us. Those are things driven by our serotonin levels. We have our oxytocin levels that are driven by love. We have our dopamine, which is initial hits, like we get from someone liking our Facebook posts. And then we get the endorphins that are things that we've worked towards, that we've achieved, that when we cross that bridge, when we cross that end line of the race, when we get the degree. But unless you've built something into your life that is longer running, that is something that actually identifies and aligns with your soul, you'll constantly be crossing off these SMART goals off of your to-do list. And you won't actually feel a level of fulfillment because SMART goals are smart, meaning you're using your head. But they don't actually involve anything to do with your heart. They don't actually open up to what it is that you want to achieve. That's why in the Golden Touch workshop. That's why today we're not going to go for your SMART goals. We're going for your heart goals. We're going to go for to uncover what it is that really drives you, because SMART goals are a pull factor. You're pulled towards something, and when you're constantly being pulled, you're burning out. You have nothing feeding behind you. When you do heart goals, you're being pushed from within. It's no longer a to-do list. It's no longer those things that you have to do in order to have or be what you want. Now we're reversing it. When it comes from your heart, it is you being that thing that you want. And counterintuitively, when you are being the thing that you want, you get to do and have everything that you want. So we're going to reverse engineer this. We're going to actually identify not your SMART goals, but we're going to actually create in your life, driven by your heart goals, your systems for living, your systems for life. Because when we're going only for the attainable, for that thing, the SMART goal, then we're using up energy. Where anytime we're living in a way that is different from our heart goals, from the things that we actually want to do, from the things that light us up, the things that light us up create the fire. The things that we're chasing after burn us out. Same thing, fire, whether you want it flaming or whether you want it to burn us out. So we're going to establish those systems. Who's up for getting some systems in their life? Awesome. Okay, if you have the workbook, then you'll see that you have a page that identifies for you the heart goals. If not, you could write it in a notebook, just in a blank page. So we're going to identify your heart goals. And heart actually is an acronym. The H stands for your health. So many people want to create a goal for their health that sounds like something that they want to lose. Think about that. Does that come from your heart or from your head? Lose 20 pounds by November 30th. Anytime you put in your subconscious mind, lose something, then you no longer are pushed from within towards it. You're being pulled. It's an I got to do this. I've got to lose something. I've got to lose the middle. Even things like I've got to gain muscle. Here's what I want to flip on its lid. When we're looking at our health, there are actually things that we want to do that if we were capable and healthy enough, we could do it. So rather than pounding it out at the gym and I'm going to go 3 times, and I'm going to go on this keto diet and this paleo diet and this 20 pounds diet, we're actually going to look at, for health, what is it that if you were at the healthiest that you could be, what would you be doing at your healthiest? Is there a hiking trip that you would just love to do, but you know that in order to do that, you've got to begin hiking. You've got to be a hiker. Is there a river that you'd like to be swimming in? And you know that in order to swim from this point to that point, you have to be a swimmer. When you're looking at your health, we are inundated with so many rules around our health that it's really easy to pick up somebody else's rule, like a diet or a gym. But each and every one of us has within us a blueprint for what is the healthiest version of us. And If you just think of it for a moment, close your eyes and just pretend that you are living a life where money is not an object, where time is not an object, where the greatest games that you could play are just a moment away from you. And with all this abundance of time and with all this abundance of energy and money, what would you wake up doing? What game would you play? Tennis? Bike riding? Would you love to have a dojo in the one floor of your mansion that you're fighting, that you're doing martial arts with other people? Would you love to have a swimming pool in your backyard or in your basement where you play in the water, where you do laps, where you're diving in with your children? Would you love to have a water park where you're climbing up the stairs to the top slide to slide down? Think of it when you were a kid. No kid ever said, I want to bike ride because it burns 300 calories for every half an hour. And if I do it a little faster, then it gets my heart rate up and I'll take a pulse check. And my watch, it says I did this many steps when we were playing tag. No kid ever says that. Because kids aren't being healthy because it's a goal. Kids just want to play. So we're going to look at, in this category, what does your heart tell you you want to be the access to your greatest health? We'll get into that in a moment. Then we have the next element is experiences. Every single person has some experiences that they want to live through. Very often we give them as, when the kids are older, or when I have more money, or when I, don't have work. Well, there are experiences that you are putting off that I'm going to tell you right now. It's a big secret. The right time will never come. The right time will never come. Because you could have it in your experience list to go hike Machu Picchu. And you say, well, I can't now because my kids are too little, and getting back to the health thing, I'm not in shape for it, and I can't, and I don't have the money, and I don't have the time off work. I'll do it when I'm older. And guess what happens? Then you get older and you say, well, now my knees are weak and I got to take care of the grandkids, and I have very little in my retirement fund, and I've got to make it stretch. These experiences, there's never a right time. And then here's another thing about that. I don't want to be, I don't want to be tough love. I'm a mom of 3 kids. I've got work and house and life. Also, I'm not here preaching to the choir. I'm not running off to hike Machu Picchu. I mean, again, I get that there are some times in your life where you have an experience that isn't this year's experience. Here's the other pull factor, the other heart goals. When you do want to create that experience, having it come true, if you didn't put it into your experience's goal in 2022, then you wouldn't have started to prepare for it when you want to do it later. So imagine that it is hiking Machu Picchu. What would a person who hikes Machu Picchu in 5 years be doing for the 5 years leading up to that? Would that person be joining hikers groups? Would that person be setting out on a weekly hiking experience in their local area? Would that person maybe go into a forum where they're speaking to other hikers of Machu Picchu? Would that person be surrounding themselves and speaking about this experience that they want, so that they start to get to know what the right shoes are, what the right gear is, what the right underpants are. If you have a goal of hiking Machu Picchu, as an example, when was the last time you went to a store and asked the clerk there, if you were to hike Machu Picchu, which shoes would you buy? Having the right shoes is you being a hiker of Machu Picchu. So when we're looking at our goals just for this coming year, you might have the experience of going to buy shoes as one of your goals. And that's not a little goal because it's coming from your heart. You know what it's pushing you for as the experience. The next letter in heart goals is achievements. And I know what you're saying. Well, that sounds a lot of left brain, Merav. Here you are talking about heart goals, and achievements sounds like something from your head. But again, we're flipping this on the be, do, have. Achievements might be paying off your mortgage, buying your first home, getting your PhD. It could be any assortment of achievements. It could be riding a horse without falling off. Now, of course, that could have elements of experience and elements of health in it. But there's a feeling of achievement that comes, we talked about earlier about the biochemicals that we have within our body, every single one of us. There's a certain endorphin level that humans are naturally propelled by, and that's the endorphins. And every time we have our achievements, we get more and more endorphins. So these are those things that you can measure, those things that you can actually grasp. An achievement might be starting your business, and an achievement might also be making $1 million at your business. Here's the big one with this. Every single person, when I just said make $1 million at your business, had a reaction. Your reaction was, that's not reasonable. That's not rational. I'll never make $1 million at my business, or I'm not going to put that as an achievement because it's irrational to put that. We're just looking at 1-year goals here, Merav. I can't put an irrational, unreasonable achievement. Notice how much your head wants you to make it a SMART goal, an achievable goal. I'm telling you, for this exercise, allow yourself to be completely irrational, completely unreasonable. Allow yourself to play. Remember when you were a little kid and someone would ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you would answer, I want to be an astronaut and an actor and an Olympian and a runner and a writer. And you'd go on. And then 5 minutes later, you would change it. And you had no concept in your mind when you were 5 years old that that was unreasonable to be all those things. And I'm here to tell you, be unreasonable. Be completely irrational. When you give yourself the permission to be unreasonable, you tap into another part of your brain. You actually stop that, as you know, my friends who are from Right Club here, we call it the itty bitty shitty committee that's in your brain. Or if there are kids around, we call it the itty bitty pity committee. But either way, it's this committee in your brain that's piping up going, you can't have that. Be rational, be reasonable. Oh, here's the best one. Be realistic. You know what's unrealistic? A 747 taking off against Earth's gravity. That is unrealistic. That is completely unrealistic. 100 years ago, If you would have shown someone a video, well, first of all, that would have been unrealistic for someone 100 years ago. But if you would have told them that this 6-ton machine defies Earth's gravity and goes into 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, they would have said that is completely unrealistic. And imagine how many people told the Wright brothers that they were on the wrong track because, after all, be realistic. And imagine what would have happened if they had listened. So in this exercise today, I'm giving you not only permission, but the prescription to be unrealistic, irrational, unreasonable. My friend actually who's here will share later, everything happens for a reason. When you have a reason, it happens, right? When you have a reason, everything happens. So right now we're going to be unreasonable because in our unreasonableness, we actually give ourselves reason for it to happen. So that's our achievements. Next one is relationships. Relationships. As we all know, what is the point of having great health, great experiences, great achievements if we don't have relationships? Now, on one hand, you could say, Merav, don't relationships just happen naturally? You can't put a goal on relationships. Really? Really? Can you put a goal on date night? Can you put a goal on making sure you celebrate every birthday, every Saturday, every holiday? If you open up a calendar, you will notice that there is a holiday that happens even if it's like National Potato Day, or, National Dog Day. Can you have a goal that you will celebrate every single holiday? Can that be a goal? And would that improve your relationships? Can you have a goal also that, and so many people actually are scared to say this out loud because they think that it's like there's some, voodoo juju going on if they say this. If you're single and you want to be in a relationship, in an intimate relationship, can you make that a goal? Much like we talked about with the health, with the experience, and with the achievements, if you want to hike Machu Picchu, you start by going and getting some hiking shoes, because you then be a hiker, you act like a hiker would. So if you want to be in an intimate relationship, you act like a person who's in a relationship would. What does that look like? Many people want to have children, want to have grandchildren. Can you create goals around how you are going to strengthen the relationship with the children, the grandchildren that you already have in your life? Can you actually put in your goals for this year that you're going to find innovative and creative ways for the people around you to feel special? That you're actually going to engage in conversations with people, just like a hiker would start having conversations with other hikers, because if you want to be a hiker, start behaving like a hiker. Can you set some goals to have some relationship goals that look like talking to other people about how great your relationship is and how you can make it even better? Whichever relationship that is, your husband, your wife, your kids, your business partners. Can you find out from other people? Imagine how your relationships at work would look if you actually came to work and announced, I am looking to make my relationships with you better. How do I do that? Let me set some goals. Because some other people in your life might say, calling me once a week, that will make this relationship better. And now you say, okay, calling this person once a week. I'm scheduling that in. That's a goal. I know I've made my relationship better because I've called that person once a week. Someone else might say, I love it when you bake me that bread. I know that you will care if you bake me the bread once a week. That becomes now a goal that gets in your system once a week. So there are so many ways that we can actually improve our relationships. And I know it sounds weird at a goal setting workshop to talk about relationships, but guess what? The quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationships. Let me say that again. The quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. And I know people say without health, you don't have anything. If you have health, you have wealth. But I'm here to say relationships are actually the most important thing. The most important thing. Because when it happens in your life that you don't have wealth, you rely on your relationships. When it happens in life that you want to have experiences, you're having them in relationship. When you have your achievements, it means nothing without relationships. Relationships, by and far, as they say, no man is an island and no woman is an island. We are social creatures. We're social beings. Our relationships are fundamental to our business, to our experiences, to our achievements, to our health. So keeping that in mind when we go in to actually do the practical part of the goal setting in a few moments, keep in mind that as you're starting to set each and every one of these goals, that in fact, creating relationships within health. So which club can you join in order to achieve the health goal that you have? Which friend can you contact in order to achieve this experience that you have? Which achievement can you achieve because you've called out and asked someone in your network for help with that? And even when I said, if you want to start a business and make $1 million, and I could see that you all had this moment of closing off to that. If you had a relationship with 1 million people, if you had a goal to have somewhat of a relationship with 1 million people, you would make $1 million. It's that easy. If you serve 1 million people, you will make $1 million plus. If you help 1 million people, if you are in relationship with 1 million people, you make $1 million. So everything that we're talking about here in heart goals actually has to do, stems from relationships. How can I help the most people and to achieve and experience and have the greatest health? So we're flipping it. The B, do, have. The B is relationships. And here's the very last part about relationship. Your very, very most important relationship is with yourself. Yeah. And so how does that relationship with yourself get put onto a goal setting list, into a goal setting activity? Where does your relationship with yourself stack in the way of all of the other goal setting that you might do for the things that you want to achieve and the experiences that you want to have and the money you want to bring in and the body you have? The relationship with yourself is integral to being, doing, and having any of the other goals. So when we talk about the golden touch, that Midas touch, that King Midas, everything he touched turned to gold. And we all know someone like that. It's because the relationship with themselves is a reflection of the relationships that you have outside of yourself, the achievements, the experiences, and the health. And when we get that, then it's really driven from within. Then everything we do comes from our heart. So the question to constantly come back to is, how would a person who loved themselves so much that they would turn all of these goals into gold, better yet, put that in the first person. How would I be if I loved myself so much that I turn all these goals into gold? And then as we're going into the goal setting workshop, the T in heart goals is time targets. Because when we're being completely unreasonable and completely irrational and completely unrealistic, we can just dump out all of our health and experience and achievements and relationships. And when we first do it, I want you to not think about how realistic it would be in certain time periods. Just put it for life. In my life, how would it look? How would my health goals look and experience goals look and achievement goals and relationship goals? Just in the course of your life over the next, 20, 30, 40 plus years, just putting it down, unrealistic goals. And then in the next step of the exercise, we're actually going to start putting time targets on everything. Because when you start to put the time targets on it, that's actually when you start to establish how realistic this can be. So with that, we're going to do that for about 5 minutes. And while we're doing that, I actually want to just give you one more thing to think about. While you're writing all of this, don't think about in any way the reality of it. Here's the other thing, thinking of it for ourselves. And I want you to write down for each one of these goals, why you must reach these goals. Because we always know, even in the Write Club, we talk about moving away from towards pleasure, but we always know that we will do more to avoid pain than we will do towards pleasure. So while you're writing these goals, I want you to write 4 statements. Because, and what would be the worst pain that you would have if you didn't achieve that goal? And what would be the greatest pleasure that you would have if you did achieve that goal? And then we also know that we will always do more for others than we'll do for ourselves. Because if we only wrote these goals for ourselves, we would feel very selfish. It's the human predicament. And so here I'm giving you permission to write in 4 quadrants. So because, and the pleasure it will give others, because the pain it would give others if I don't do it, because the pain it would give myself if I don't do it, and because the pleasure it would give myself if I do it. I'll give you a little example. For instance, I am making a commitment to be in the best shape of my life for the rest of my life. And I'll start with, because I want to be a great role model for my kids. That's the pleasure. For my kids, I want to be a great role model. I want to give them that. The pain is because I want If I don't do it, my kids might be scared that their mom's going to get sick. And I don't want them to have to worry about me. The pain for myself, if I don't do it, I want to be in the best shape of my life, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I absolutely love doing, because this extra weight that I've gained during COVID is hurting my knees from dancing. And that's, if I can't dance, then I'm in pain. And then the pleasure for myself, because I want to be able to dance freely wherever I want, whenever I want. So that's my biggest health goal, is I want to be able to dance. That takes getting rid of the COVID weight. So do you get how we're going to write our goal, and we're going to write the 4 because lines with that. And with that, we are going to take a little break. And as you're writing down your goals, consider each one of those goals. Take as much time as you want in this practice. Write as many goals as possible. Put me on pause and write for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes. Put on some music and write all the unrealistic goals, the things you'd like to have, the things you'd like to be, the beach house and the mountain house and the yacht, and who will you be with, and the travel around the world, who will you stop to visit with, and the PhD and the books and the multi-million-dollar business and the dinner party with this CEO and the tennis game with that tennis great, and playing in Wimbledon, dancing or swimming with the sharks. Write all of these things down, whatever is right for you. And once you've finished writing, and put me on pause now, and once you've finished, return. And if you're back now, then we'll do the next part of the exercise. Now take a look at your list, and very quickly, without overthinking it, I want you to put a 1, a 3, a 5, a 10, or a 25 plus beside that goal. 1 being 1 year, 3 being 3 years, 5 being 5 years, 10 years, and 25 plus being 25 plus. Now, in the original, I didn't want you to know the time targets, because that would have made you approach it from that realistic manner. But I had you approach it from this in your whole life, meaning 25 plus years, what you really want to create in your life. And only now are we going to look, if you have a lot of goals that are only number 1 beside them, then you've played too realistically. You've played too smart. You've made them attainable. Your goals should not be attainable, should not be realistic. If you have, on the flip side, too many that are 25 plus years, these dreams that you have, fantastic. Those are your life dreams. Those are the things that you are going to achieve sometime in your life, that you're going to attain at one point in your life. And now we're going to look at that goal and say, if a person has that goal in 25 plus years, what does that person need to be doing for the next 10? And what does that person need to be doing for the next 5? And for the next 3? And for the next 1? If you have a lot of goals that you've put the number 10 or 5 beside, great. You can always now start to dream bigger with those ones, and also start to reverse engineer it to make it a little bit more attainable and a little bit more attainable. I guarantee, I've studied the history and the biographies of every single historical figure that has made its success, that we would say has the Midas touch, the golden touch. I've also been blessed to have been around people who have created lives that are golden for their own values, for their own heart. And this is exactly what they do. They allow themselves to dream really big, those unreasonable, irrational, unrealistic dreams, and then start to put action plan towards it, massive action plan. So that's what we're going to do here. Number your goals, 25 plus 10, 5, 3, and 1, and have equal distribution between all of those numbers. And then when you're looking at your 1-year goals, now we can start to really put the pedal to the metal. And I'll give you a few moments just to do that, and I'll come back in just a moment to go on with the next step of the exercise. As we did with the reducing 25 years to 10 to 5 to 3 to 1, you can even go one step further and reduce your 1-year plan into 3-month plans, 3 months at a time. Here's the clincher. You know, you have to give your dreams the wings to fly, but also the feet to walk. Because it's great to dream big. It's fantastic. I mean, all this heart opening, warm and fuzzy woo-woo stuff about dreaming your best life for 30 years. But if you're not here doing the feet to walk, you're putting your feet on the ground and actually taking some action, then it's all stays in dream. And then you end up 30 years later going, gosh, I remember that goal setting, that soul getting workshop once. God, my soul really wanted me to do this, but I didn't take action. So now here is the time targets. Here's actually where it gets important, because the time will pass. The future is coming, and when you're there, it'll always be the present. So the time will pass, and here's where it gets interesting. You've got to give your dreams wings to fly and feet to walk, and this is what we're going to do now. And they say the things that are important to you are where you spend your time and where you spend your money. Think of that. Where you spend your time and how you spend your money, that shows me what's important to you. That shows you what's important to you. So now if those are the important things to you, then now we're going to look at some targets for, you're going to put your money where your mouth is proverbially, or your time where your mouth is. If those are the things you want to accomplish in the next year, what time commitment are you going to put into your system to achieve those things this year? What money commitments are you going to put into your system to achieve those things this year, to attain those things, to be those things this year? Because remember, we're flipping. This is not have, do, and then you be that thing. You be the thing that you want to be in order to do it and have it. So you don't wait to be in the top shape of your life in order to join the gym, or in order to start your dance classes, or in order to do salsa and feel really vibrant and fresh and sexy. You put it into your time and your money, those things that are quantifiable, because those are the things that are important to you. Those are our measurables. And both of them actually, as we know, are actually illusions. Both are man-made. Time is an illusion, as we know. It doesn't exist, meaning all we have is now. The nature only knows now. We've invented past and future. So in our man-made invention, we're now going to invent the energy of time that we put into something. Money is a concept, it's just an energy unit. So how much energy am I going to spend on this thing that I want to be? So right now, adding to your list of your heart goals, as we're here, never leave a place of a decision without putting some action to it. right now, put a time number and a money number beside each of those goals. How much will you invest in yourself to be the thing that you want to be? How much time will you invest? And how much money will you invest? As we know, even if you want to achieve let's say, a PhD, there's time and money investment in that. If you want to write a book, there's time and money investment in that. If you want to get in the best shape of your life, there's time and money investment in that. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a huge investment. It could just be a new pair of running shoes. But live from the place of, if you were already that person who is a runner, if you were a runner already, if you be a runner, would you cheap out on your running shoes? Would a person who's a runner cheap out on something like that? Would a person who is an author, is there an investment in going to a summit for authors? Would a person who's an author cheap out on that? Or would they put that time investment and the money investment into that? So just for every one of your goals, put a time and a money commitment, an investment. And that is your heart goals. And if something about putting that investment in today triggers something in your head, then you're not working on the belief that doing this will actually turn it into gold. So the Midas touch, that golden touch, that when we touch something, it turns into gold, works on a belief that by doing the things that we do today, it will turn into gold tomorrow. So if it triggered you to have some sort of time or money investment, then there's something that's blocking from you reaching your gold. And I'll just share with you that nobody ever came to the point later in their life, after they've achieved the thing that their soul called them to do, ever saying, I regret putting the time in. And if it's something that your soul is calling you to do, no one ever says, I regret putting the money in. So be that person who is investing in yourself, because what your soul wants, your soul gets. And it's a little game we play with the universe, that the universe goes, you are waiting. We are waiting to give you what it is that you want. You've just got to show us you really want it. And that's how you create a life that is golden, and everything you touch effortlessly and easily comes your way. That is the golden touch. I hope to see you soon. Enjoy, and as always, write on.